welcome. Today it's another Friday with Father Scott. And come to just a different spot in the office building. We're looking again at the Sunday Gospel for July the 10th. So it's from St. Luke's Gospel, and this is the reading. There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" He said in reply, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." He replied to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." And because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instructions, 'Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back.' Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim?" He answered, "The one who treated him with mercy." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." You know what? That's one of the most powerful gospels that I think we hear, and just, it's so full of just so many little tidbits that you could spend, and I'm sure dissertations have been written on this selection. What must you do to inherit eternal life? And, you shall love the Lord your God. That's it, with all your heart, soul, and your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And then we hear the question that the young man wished to justify himself. So he asked him, "And who's my neighbor?" Okay, now, if you have to ask, well, you're probably in quicksand already, And then Jesus uses a very powerful tool. It tells another little story. It's like watching Wimbledon right now. They're serving back and forth, and Jesus is about to put it away. But we have to listen and watch and pay attention. And he tells a story about a man who fell victim to robbers. And at first was a priest. Not this kind of priest, but one of their kind of priests. And the law said, if you touch a dead person, well, you're unclean. So we hear that he went to the opposite side and walked on by. We ought to have that music. Just walk on by, And then a Levite came by. A person learned in the law. Did the very same thing, because the priest and the Levite, they knew the law. If that man was dead and they touched him, they would be ritually unclean. And then a Samaritan, one of those people. And we've all said that and probably acted that way, one of those people. And that person sets the bar this high for all Christendom. Because Jesus says in the end, when he asked the young man the question, who treated him with, who was neighbor to the robber's victim? And he said, the one who treated him with mercy. And Jesus says to him and to us, go and do likewise. So here we are today in this 15th Sunday in Ordinary Time, and it's a go and do likewise. We've heard the gospel. We've heard it over and over and over again. We've heard this one, Parable of the Good Samaritan. Hospitals are named after this biblical account. And you and I are called to go and do likewise. Not to count the cost, not to worry about being ritually impure or unclean, but maybe to take the risk and get off our horse and stop everything and care for the the victim of the robber. And so he treated him with compassion, the Samaritan did. And Jesus tells us to imitate the action of the Samaritan. So maybe don't worry about the questions. Don't worry about asking who is our neighbor or what must I do. Just think about the Good Samaritan. What did he do? How did he act? Action. A-C-T-I-O-N. Action. That's what we're about after hearing the gospel today. Go and do likewise. So until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, especially in all of this oppressive heat, please, look after your neighbors and friends. If you haven't seen them in a while, walk over, knock on their door, make sure they have air and all that, and just be a good neighbor. Be a good Samaritan to your neighbors and friends today. So God's blessing on you and yours this day. Take care.